So Matt, when the Shah of Iran visited the U.S. in 1969 for Eisenhower's funeral, apparently he offered to sell the U.S. 1 million barrels of oil a day for 10 years at the price of $1, and apparently we turned him down. Now last year, when the Environmental Protection Agency was asked to do an economic analysis of Waxman-Markey, the climate bill, they reported that in 2030, the price of gas will only be 25 cents higher than it is today. We were apparently deluded then. Are we deluded now?
Oh, absolutely. We're still giving oil away. We're giving energy away. I still have a infamous bet that the New York Times Sunday magazine came out middle of August of 2005 with this great story about the end of oil and Twilight in the desert just been published, and Peter Moss did this remarkable job, one of the longest stories I've ever run, and I got a copy on a Wednesday. On a Friday, a guy named John Tierney, New York Times, I didn't realize was a columnist, called me and said, "You've obviously seen the Sunday New York Times story," and I was just blown away when you said, "We need to prepare ourselves for triple-digit oil prices," and I don't mean low triple digits. So you got to be crazy. I think oil prices are about $38 a barrel then. So he said, "I'd like to make you a public bet." Do you remember when Julian Simon and Paul Ehrlich made this great bet? So anyway, we went back and forth, and I finally said, "Look, let's make this real simple. I'll put up $5,000. He said, "First of all, I'd like to pay you $5,000. That's okay." And he said, "How do we structure this bet?" So I said, let's bet that the average price of oil in 2010 is $200 or higher, and then I win your $5,000, and if it's $190 or lower, then you win my $5,000. So the next Tuesday, there was a column in the New York Times called the $10,000 bet. Now, I still think I'm going to win the bet. We're an event away. Oil prices going through the roof. Because we're giving it away.
It's supposed to go up this summer, so
Well, I mean, first of all, people say it's going to go up this summer to 90. It's $87 today. We're out of capacity. We have our motor gasoline stocks, as reported last week, were far lower than they were after Ike. So if we can get through this summer without a gasoline shortage, I think we'll be remarkably lucky. We got a head fake when the economy collapsed, and that really basically was a cruel hoax on America and the world that we'd somehow solve the world problems. We're now going through the greatest delusion I've seen in my 41-year career of believing that natural gas has somehow come out of nowhere in shale formations, and we have a 100, 200-year supply of natural gas. That is actually ridiculous. The amount of water we're using to get the natural gas out of the ground is outrageous. It's almost as bad as corn ethanol. So again, I think we're right back to the same delusions we've had for 50 years.
And so even if we do nothing at all about climate change, is it all conceivable in your view that in 2030 gas will only be 25 cents higher?
I think the odds of that are about 0.0001%. One of the interesting things that I've discovered in the last 9 months that I really didn't know much about before that is the unbelievable interrelationship between the pending water scarcity, which is probably a problem that is far greater than our fossil fuel scarcity, and how much water we consume to create modern energy. The average gallon of motor gasoline in the world requires 3 gallons of water to create a refinery. Now, I think that in the next 2 or 3 years, the world's going to demand that we start charging people for use of water. And if the refinery system had to pay the average price we pay for a bottle of water today, then motor gasoline would be $30 a gallon.
Matt, you're one of the most knowledgeable people on the planet about oil and about energy sector generally. So imagine Nicole.
I shouldn't be, by the way.
Imagine Nicole had 15 more minutes that she could have cut into this film. What aspect of the energy problem, the energy environment, security, economy nexus would you have liked to see added to or enhanced?
I think she did a fabulous job, and I think that the people she picked, I luckily know about 85% of them, and It's the new leaders of the energy business that are very different than the people when I started 40 years ago, who were sort of good old boys. And they really weren't roughnecks. But I think that I probably would have basically said it would have been great if you could have added on how we're going to solve the problem. I think I figured out how we're going to solve the problem. And it's ocean energy. And in the Gulf of Maine, we're creating a test site to prove to the world that you can turn offshore wind where you get 10 to 20 miles offshore, so you actually hide from the land, into prolific electricity. And we're going to turn the electricity into desalinated seawater and liquid ammonia. And liquid ammonia at ambient temperatures will replace motor gasoline. So that's the holy grail.
So that's the silver bullet from the box of silver
That is the
bullets
silver
that
bullet.
actually matters.
And luckily, since about 60% of humanity lives within 50 miles of our oceans, that is a source that basically can work. And it can, if we can solve the water scarcity and the transition from petroleum transportation at the same time, then it's really an energy home run of the highest order.
I have another silver bullet. Also, another silver bullet is algae. And one of the interesting things about algae is it yields, they're making a fuel, they can make a gasoline and oil, they can also make a hard form from algae. And it yields so much better than any of the other biofuels. It grows in wastewater, it grows in ice, it grows in salt water. It's completely democratic. The great thing about it is it grows all over the world, so the idea is that, which is kind of what you're talking about, is we also localize our energy sources. And the great thing about the hard form algae is it's actually a great way of replacing coal. It can burn in our existing coal plants. And it does release the CO2 when it burns, but in order to create an algae production plant, you actually have to inject that CO2 into the algae. It's a full-scale cycle, and so, and that CO2 is absorbed by the algae, and then you refine the algae and you make your fuel and your hard form coal.